Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
All right, we're here at the show in California with Andrey Kosobutsky, who is head of ATR, and we're going to talk about. Well, first of all, tell me, how did you get into this industry?
ATR Service.
ATR Service, Inc.
Yes.
Okay. So how'd you get into this business?
Well, I'm very lucky to take that company because it has a long history, and then it was my hobby all my life. I used to play drums in the band.
I play drums. Did you know that I play drums?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew.
Okay.
I saw their sticks that doing it. Yeah, and my passion in the audio world, it's very, very intense in my life, and it's part of my life. And my wife and I, we always admire the best music reproduction, and the better reproduction system you have, the more appreciate your classical music, jazz music.
Yeah.
And I've been involved in the mechanics and electronics of the sources or the playback sources, but always trigger me how we can make it play better.
Yes.
Because you're not really hearing with the ears, you're hearing with your body, and all this music effects on your life. And I was working on improvement, some tape recorders, turntables, but what's got my attention, it's an ATR Ampex 102 machine that before I purchased the company, I was very fond of that machine, and I like it how it's structured. Mm-hmm. And I had very good, successful stories with my friends, audiophiles, customers who actually ordered a few units to repair and refurbished and upgrade. So that's how it got me driving, and it started about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And then becoming more popular and more demanded.
It sure has lately.
And then luckily that the owner of the ATR Service, the previous owner, Betty Spitz, she was I kind of put the business on sale and for sale, and then I showed up, and we are friends. She knew about me, and she was happy to move it to me.
So it was perfect timing.
As keeping the culture of Mike Spitz with that company. The company was formed in 2002.
Okay.
And was serving worldwide customers, studios mostly, archives, libraries, and with my involvement, I brought up a separate layer, so to say, of the consumers, which is like audiophile, high-end level. And I have a partner in Kiev, in Ukraine, Sergey. His last name Muzika, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, Muzika. And that's how we started 2 years ago. We picked up that business that was kind of going a little bit down, but with popularity and the information how analog sound can be sound, how tape can be sounding, that's what drives people now toward to find out more knowledge how it can be better.
Yeah.
And then about 15 years ago, I was in the research of how important is to align the tape reproduction, and that was becoming one of my main goals, to bring that information to the world, that without alignment or without the reference, it's like you cannot scale your weight until you'll get a real etalon or reference of weight. The same like for sound.
Yeah.
How is your the either tape recorder, consumer base, studio base, if it's not calibrated properly, you wouldn't be able to enjoy the proper reproduction quality of your source.
Yeah.
So then we started to working with the Flux magnetics, how we can develop the calibration tape. Mm-hmm. And analyzing MRL tapes or other sources tapes, how the quality, and then analyzing what's the standard requirements. So we came up with a product that our tape, it's called Anco Lab Calibration Tape, which we're making totally from scratch, and we have instruments that can measure the tones and apply the flux magnetics level, what the consumer needs, and we have a lot of on orders right now. But that's coming back to the importance of the alignment. This is kind of without that, you can't really truly rely on your equipment.
Right.
Another point that aligning the electronics, it's been forgotten that put aside the tape and there's your electronics not performing well, and depends on the quality of your head. Now we're bringing up to the point that you have to align your electronics between the head and electronics. So now we are introducing the new device that's called magnetic flux system, that it would have a flux loop attached to the head, and then you can generate the tone and then align your electronic linear and the frequency response. And only after that you will put the tape with the calibration tones, and then you will determine how good your head, playback head or not.
Right, yeah.
And there's a lot of nuances that have been forgotten, and I would call it like art of calibration. So this is really important, and for the consumers to know, and for studios how to achieve the best quality, especially if they have best sources, like master tapes.
Back in the 70s and 80s, I used to record quite a lot around the Hollywood area because that's where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing you did in the morning was align the heads, bias the tape. That was something, and demag. That was something that is, it's just a daily routine.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than once a day.
Because important.
It's so important.
It's when you're holding the pressure master tape and you have to dub it or master it or copy and work with it, you have to make sure that your machine is completely aligned.
Correct.
To that.
Yeah.
Well, it's different because you're aligning to the tones of the master tape that has been made. It's already tones applied.
Yeah.
But the reference, how your machine is reacting when it will be playing back properly, effects such as like a secondary gap compensation, which is about 16 kilohertz, how it would be read properly from your playback head, or like a fringing effect, which is below 100 hertz frequency. There's a spikes that playback heads start reading your low frequency before the tape hits the head. So that's a spike. It's really science. So people can read on my website. There are some articles about fringing effect. Even Jay McKnight, famous Jay McKnight, he published a lot of paperwork on that and documentation. Ampex has a whole theory, documents that I acquired from the factory that describing how properly calibrate the machines.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about only Ampex machines, but it's any machine.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes, this is what is a part of my job. So along with my job of restoring completely, so I can talk about that an hours. But
now, before we move on, didn't you find in a previous conversation, it seems to me that you found that the pro audio industry, the test tones that were being supplied weren't quite spot on anymore?
Well, in the past 15 years, I've been having problem with calibration tapes. And I have so much feedbacks from around the world, studios and consumers, that it's so inconsistent.
Right, yeah, which is not the goal.
Yes, I had a case that I was analyzing 4 brand new tapes. It was about 10 years ago.
You're talking about test tapes or blanks?
No, right now I'm talking about calibration tapes.
Yes,
test tapes.
Okay.
And when I put one tape, it's one azimuth. I put exactly the same tones and everything, play it, it's like 45 degrees azimuth off. Plus. And then another tape, it's minus 45 degrees off. And then I measured the flux magnetics level, which it says 250 nanowebers, and I measured it, it's 180 nanowebers. Okay, so all the tapes becoming different. So I was calling suppliers, said, what's going on? You have a different. And they kind of calmed me down saying, don't worry, we are within a correct deviations, plus minus 40 degrees, that's fine. I said, no, it's not fine.
No, it's not.
Right. So when I bought the company, I had about 30 MRL tapes starting from late 80s. And I was analyzing that, and I came to the database that about 15 years ago, it started absolutely going
Deviating.
off.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's no reliable tape. And I had some tapes from Europe that, they recorded for me the tones, and then I'm reading that on my instruments, and I see there's a azimuth of 45, 60 degrees. The tones are not leveled. It's just because of there's no reference.
Yeah.
And there's a specific standard, IEC 94.2, that it says such and such for such a speed, such frequency, such system, that it has to be like that. That's it.
Who is supplying these tapes? Were there multiple companies that supplied such tapes?
I don't know anybody who's invested so much money, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Right. But before, when this...
Before it was MRL.
And that's it?
And that's it.
Okay. Interesting.
There are some companies in Europe who was generating tones and selling the tapes, but the science behind that, it's truly each system has a different curve, high frequency curve. And there is a certain delays in microseconds. So it has to be precisely made specifically for different, different tones and different systems.
Wonder why nobody was catching this until you know?
I know.
15 years or so? That's a long...
I give you a good example about fringing effect.
Okay.
Like if you would read, if you would apply the Flux loop to the playback head directly without tape, and you will align your EQ like 50 hertz, level to 0 dB.
Yeah.
And the high frequency aligns to 0, so you have a linear response. And then you would put a 50 hertz tone on a calibration tape, and that head will spike, depends on the machine, and the head could spike up to 3 dB higher, or 2 dB higher. Why? Because that head is reading that low frequency way before the frequency hits the head. But it's just a spike. Okay, so that could happen also on 100 hertz. But it's not affected on all low frequency shelf, like a below maybe 200 hertz, 300 hertz. But if you bring down the low frequency 50 hertz to 0, according to the tape, you're going to bring down the whole low frequency there, right? So this is something that you have to consider, and I always welcome to help customers and explain how they should be calibrated properly. But without knowing specific of your machine, your playback head, you wouldn't be able to precisely define what's the fringing effect on your machine. And there was a day when the MRL was doing like a fringing compensation, which they're intentionally going to bring down the 50 hertz to the consumers, but they denied to do that. So Jay McKnight decided, no, we're not going to do that because each machine has specific characteristics in each head. So it's just we're delivering that knowledge to the client that they would be aware. So the best way also to determine that is to have a sweep tone. And a sweep tone you will see, and if you pull out the old box, MRL box, there is a graph. And you can see on a sweep tone there is a spike. And I can see some spikes like a plus 50 dB on their tape, but it's because of their fringing effect on their machine when they're making calibration tape. And they admit it, of course. You cannot avoid that. So this is, we can talk more, but again, I welcome anybody to call me, and when we can discuss and I can help. Now going back to the restoration of the machines. So as I said, the machine has the spec as a factory provided. We are doing way better. We completely taken apart the machine, and we providing refurbishing literally all the circuitries, the connectors, motors. The machine has very complicated motors and the controls that we are handling, and we are upgrading a lot of components. And for instance, we have upgrades for the input-output modules, with the VU meters. and we're replacing with the high precision transformers, and replacing those 60 years old transformers with the high precision that allows us to bring down distortion to 10 times
Wow.
less.
Wow.
No machines in the world can do that.
Huh.
And the uniqueness of that machine, talking about uniqueness of that machine has a bias frequency 432 kilohertz. No one in the world, no machine in the world has it. Like Studer has 180 kilohertz. So in order to use and utilize your tape capability.
Yeah.
So for instance, if I was gonna, and I have one of the gentlemen who was asking how can he record the pipe organ. Because he said, my pipe organ goes down below to 8 hertz. And I said, my machine can go down to 10 hertz, recorded. So this is...
Many organs can go down that low.
Yes, advantage of that machine that it can be providing the full spectrum recording.
Yeah.
And it's so reliable.
Right,
And when I'm doing it, and this is something coming from us, and we have a lifetime support, technical support, always online, always talking about it. Now we're promoting the analog recording that people would be aware how it can be sound good.
Yes, yeah.
And like Seattle University, Washington State University, they already bought 2 machines from us, and they've been opening up this school to teach the students, the future sound engineers, how to record the analog sound.
Cool, great.
A week ago, we recorded some performance in their hall in university. And this is unique stuff to help people how to do that.
Yeah.
And how to experience the good sound.
So now I imagine you do more than 2-track. You do multi-track.
No, we're doing that 2 tracks. When we don't do 24 tracks, we don't do 4 tracks. We can provide a 4 tracks machine for half-inch tape. Yes, we can do that.
Okay, your focus is on 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another way that we're doing improvement until we wiring the system to to external head preamp.
Yeah.
And one of our set that's very famous. It's a set with the MR70's electronics, that the best in the world reproduction head preamp that Ampex invented in 1965.
Wow.
And we completely re-engineered that, and we replaced the transformers and a lot of stuff that to achieve the best sound possible.
Yeah.
Then also we are producing the head preamps that can replace the audio cards. This was invented by Mike Spitz a long time ago, but been forgotten. We completely re-engineered that.
Okay, Andrey, tell me a little bit more about what projects you're working on now.
To continue our conversation about my business and directions and the project, we have so many projects at the same time going on.
I know what that's like.
And yeah, we're so busy with too many ideas how to improve and bring the playback quality and recording quality up to the ceiling. And we know the opportunity from analog perspective, it's unlimited, or it has some limitation, but at the same time, it's a way some
got a long ways to go.
Yes, and people are very surprised when they have something discovered how that sound can be affecting to not only to your ears, but to your body, to your feelings.
Soul,
exactly. Yeah. So, like a music of Mozart or Beethoven, it's a voice of God, right? But how would you deliver it?
Yeah.
How it's all tuned. And speaking about the tuning of orchestra, that's another subject that is very interesting. But those days, the tuning was inherited or in the tune of the it's called like a Schumann waves. It's about 8 hertz between the stratosphere and the earth. And this is, I think it's a 3rd harmonic. That's a tune A. That it has to be tuned, the whole orchestra. That your body will feel it.
Yeah.
So how would you deliver that information to your ears and to these days consumers? Because the people love music, but with all the digital world that's missing, and a lot of people admit it, and they so much appreciate it. How we can help with it. So my first goal was in order to bring the best machine in the world to the public availability to studio, you have to have, as I said, the reference to tune it up properly.
Right.
Then what else? Because the technology, 60 years old, 50 years old technology and components, they are, degrading. And the plus with nowadays components, we can bring it up to the highest level of reproduction, or signal gonna go through much cleaner. So we're doing upgrades from that perspective, and we start, keep studying that possibility more and more. And with the discovery of some of the components that we can replace, and I have access to the factory specifications and factory drawings, and whole this idea how Ampex approach to it, plus studying the other published scientific researches, such as Jay McKnight, famous scientist and magnetic recording and playback. It's very, very interesting, and excited me to start making the calibration tapes. And then these modules modification, what we can do, we modified the modules with the VU meters, we drop down the distortion 10 times less, and then we have internal head preamp with the tubes that Mike Spitz was developing. We're engineering that. Then we come up with the idea that Ampex had an audiophile quality machine in 1965, and it's called MR70s with the little tubes. And it was audiophile quality, very, very, very much, it's expensive, but now we're implementing and kind of using that transport with the MR70 electronics. We keep studying then, and then we came up with a unit that we can calibrate machine our heads, electronics, without tape, like Ampex recommended to do that, number one. So this type of projects, and then a lot of companies and studios are becoming more interested. What they've been losing during production, during the mixing, during the making lacquers or cutting the vinyl. And this is kind of coherent with what Jay are doing, that all the alignment has to be properly done in order to reproduce, to keep all this chain of reproduction properly, so it would be delivered to your ears directly.
The way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had an interesting session yesterday at the other room where we've been presenting and describing the difference, or kind of having public delivered some feelings, what would be the difference between digital, vinyl, and tapes. And we had about 60 or 70 people.
Standing room only.
Right, and that information will be published on YouTube. So we've been playing, and Kevin Gray was with us. He was a mastering engineer for Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon 30th anniversary.
Right.
And he told us a lot of information, how he'd done it, and but at the same time, we were able to play digital and play vinyl, what he mastered. And then when we put the tape, and we voted, what was the best sound, and like 99% of people voted for the tape, because nobody had experience like that.
Right. Yeah. I can testify that being a recording engineer and being in many of the most famous studios in Hollywood. And back in the days when it was analog, digital tape was just coming in, and I had a little bit of experience with that, and so a little bit of comparison too. The realness, the solidity, the magic, the difference between an original master analog tape and anything else is just it's the best. It's a wonderful experience, and very few have ever had the opportunity to hear it done right.
And very important also for reproduction, it's not only the source, but the environment, the room, acoustics.
Thank you.
That's what we're talking about, that the main goal, that a sound source and impression for you how to feel the sound, it would be like the instrument should be sounding itself, not the room.
Right, correct. The room should not be a part of the equation.
Forget about speakers, forget about all around you. But if you see the violin, you see the cello, you see piano, and then physically the body of piano is singing,
Yeah.
that's where the information. And
Yeah.
all the environment on the recording studio, it's there, it's on a tape.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you have to hear it and understand it.
Yeah.
If it's a bad room and all this resonance,
Right.
and you wouldn't be able to see that precisely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm open to talk about more, and this is from the engineering point, how the soundtrack's going, and but calibration number one, the best mechanics as a tape should be this, and then of course it will be vinyl quality way better if you reproduce it properly and record it.
Yeah. Yep.
We have so many projects what we're doing.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to talk about these devices at all? Here.
This is the set that it's we call it hot rod, and this is hot rod the system. We call it like a revision 2, because it has so many more upgrades, and so we're taking of this electronics as much as possible advantage to get the best sound in the world, because this is what it was invented by Ampex, and that's what we're utilizing the tubes here, and with all this re-engineered circuitry and upgraded components, it allows us to get the best sound. And I'm not like talking at empty words, because everything that has been modified and added, it's been going through the years of the audiophiles, friends, and myself. I have a high-end system that I can listen immediately. What's the difference?
Yeah.
And sometimes
you have a great system and a great.
What was noticed, it's what's interesting coming back to that session that we had yesterday, that the people were listening vinyl, tape, and then digital, and even Kevin Gray say digital is much slower. The whole track of the money on the dark side, it's slower.
Speed?
Speed. But the factor is that what I mentioned, and I noticed that before with other people, that the quality, like of giving you different time of the track, it's different timing. Because the information that coming to you, you just think differently and receive that information differently, and you think it's a different speed. I had exactly experience with one friend. I said, okay, let me give you an example. This is a track, that's been in digital. This is a track in analog, and he different timing. Before it's interesting because
now so you're not talking about really rhythm or pitch. You're talking about drive, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it's more of an emotional timing that you're talking about, rather than a physical difference in.
It's like my wife was describing, like when your tape is sounding, it's like a river flowing.
Yeah. Okay,
it's a different approach, different feelings.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to just a simple, digital music or music, it was not fully reproduced properly. It's just a flat, it's nice, high frequency, low frequency, everything good, even the stage. But something is missing that you cannot even breathe freely to feel it.
To me, it's with the a master analog tape versus anything else. I mean, it's the harmonics, the body, the attacks and the decays. And I mean, yes, everything else too, but those are the things that really are at a higher level. And so then emotionally, you make a better connection. It touches you more. It makes a better connection. It's more a feeling, like you have said, than just an experience of an observation. It's more of a feeling than an observation.
Right. This is what I'm saying, because your body is listening, your mind is listening, and this is becoming triggering some other senses that.
I would say another part of that, and this has to do with, if you've got acoustical problems too, is that the brain subconsciously is able to not work as hard.
Yeah.
Because it's not having to tune out or decipher or trying to make sense of things. Yeah. You're able to just relax and let it happen. So you then, I think, therefore, have a better experience.
So to add to the quality, and this is something that I want to probably add to my project, what I was doing, it's about power supply.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the power supply makes a lot of sense for the electronics, and the better the power supply, the better.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
you provide the feed to the electronics. And what are we doing in this particular set? We're removing the power supply and putting on the floor, and there are some power transistors that we moved to the power supply. We remodded some circuitry to provide the higher quality power to the electronic, that it will work more freely. The same like you're breathing and you're hearing music, the electronics are doing the
Yes.
same.
Oh, exactly. Well, and are you also modifying, or rather, let's say, simplifying some of the circuitry from what it was before, removing unnecessary?
Yeah. There
making
is some
the signal path simpler.
Some circuitry, like for the studio, used to have like synchronization with the recording and different kind of triggering keys inside.
Yeah.
So we're simplifying that, and to give a more freely without processing the sound track.
Yeah, better signal
delivered, right?
integrity. Yeah.
And we're doing the cables, interconnect cables, the head wires cables. Also, it's by science, it's approved that it's a way better.
Oh yeah.
Coming.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. And then your pads.
Yes.
You've been at my place, and we've been experienced that how much improvement it can be when you put even pads under the machine or power supply. Like, wow, this is unbelievable. Resonance control.
He puts EVPs under the power supply that drives the tape deck.
Yes.
We were pretty blown away. It was like, gosh.
Yeah, it was an amazing experiment, and when I see your face, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Good.
First it was under the reel-to-reel, but then Andrey goes, well, guy, do you have more? Let's put them under the power supply. And it was like, oh my gosh, wow, I did not expect that, especially after putting it under the reel-to-reel. It's like, wow, huh?
Yeah.
But often it's a matter of, sometimes everything, when you have an environment such as yours that is really, really controlled, then the tiniest little improvements can have a really marked impression on you, And like we often talk about, it applies to electronics, it applies to acoustics. You really have to there's a hierarchy, and you need to address the biggest problem before you can resolve the small and appreciate and even perceive the smaller ones. You got to do the coarse adjustments before you can do the fine adjustments. Yeah.
And as a red line through all these modifications and development, it has to be absolutely neutral system.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Additional flavor, the frequency bump. No, it has to be absolutely neutral to deliver the source.
Yeah.
As it was.
It's the only way it's going to be reproducible, repeatable, consistent.
Exactly.
Yeah. And otherwise, you're just chasing your tail. You're going to be totally confused. Yeah.
One of the projects that we've been working, it's on a mono reproduction. This is something, I have a big collection of vinyl, and there's a late 50s, early 60s mono records of jazz and classical music. And I never thought that the mono will sound good.
Yeah.
But what was actually, when we done some research, and we found that when you have a mono cartridge and you're playing mono tape, on a mono record, mono vinyl record, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing with the stereophono stage, you're just splitting the signal.
Right.
But it's totally wrong, because it's a one coil, and you're splitting the signal, so your phono stage is not performing right. So what we're doing, we made the special step-up transformer that comes close to the tone arm, close to the cartridge, and a splitting signal. It will be fully balanced signal going to the phono stages, two phono stages, and then it reveals all information that mono signal has.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably impressive how they recorded those days, the jazz and classical music on the mono records.
And they had wonderful microphones back then.
Unbelievable.
And they were good at placing them.
Right. It was a big discovery, big step up, and understanding how it was recorded. Like Beatles was recording in all the mono, right?
Oh, mixing in all mono,
Exactly.
Yeah. Question for you, are you playing it back with a single speaker?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Well, first of all, my preamp, it's a stereo phone stage built in, right? So if I would just split it or give it to the one channel and just split it to two speakers, no. I'd rather directly from the cartridge get a signal from one coil of mono and then immediately split it properly through the step-up through transformer to keep the balanced signal and get into the phono stage. And then it's reproducing. You didn't see the speakers. It's right in front.
Sure. Yeah.
That's another project. So if anybody interested in the cables like that, you're welcome.
There you go.
Call me, and anytime I'm open, and all my products, it's a lifetime support, technical support, and I'm willing to know people to coming and see and hear that and experience how that can be sound.
Yes.
It's a life-changing experience.
Yes. You can tell he's passionate and open to, easy to talk to. So what is what's the most fun part of what you do? What do you get the most satisfaction out of?
When you see the tears in the eyes of the people who coming and appreciate it, what they experienced.
That's my reward too.
I had many customers, like even the studio mastering engineer, when they visited me, and they said, I'm 70 years old, but I never in my life hear that such a good sound. And this is a reward. And then everybody's saying thank you, because we have to revive the analog reproduction. And this is something that I'm proud to participate in. This is part of my dream in my life. This is maybe it's too much saying, but again, this is true. This is what I experienced. I'm audiophile guy as well, but we are all aiming toward the best sound and best feelings. It's like a time machine. Like you putting the record from 1970s, Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or
and reliving
stuff. Yes,
at a higher level.
That's your time machine. That's your feelings.
It is, yeah. So what do you, when you are evaluating a change, what music are you playing? And what are you listening to?
Probably it depends of that. I can rely on source, and I'm using like classical Mozart orchestra.
Okay. A specific title that you can?
One of the good analog production Mozart concerto, I think 21.
Okay.
And that's at 45 RPM. And it's actually symphony orchestra performing.
Okay.
That's really great performance. Then one of the good piece, it's Saint-Saëns organ concerto.
Number 3.
Where it has a organ sound that your room is shaking, how organ pipe is working, but that's the only reproduction you can get from the tape.
That's a fun one.
So I have a tape and I have a record. Or let's say we played Supertramp, The Crime of the Century. I never thought it's going to be recorded like,
Oh, that's a great one.
It's unbelievable when it's on a tape, right? That's such a fun album. And the Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Wall, and we played it on tape, and you see you hear the heartbeat. And you hear the heartbeat on the floor. Your feet is feeling that, but it's not like room shaking. No, it's something more.
It's subtle. But it's like real, rather than like just a record.
And the cymbals are so far away; they're just playing there, but they're so clear, and it's truly balanced sound. So that's type of part.
All about the music. That's why we're here. Anything else that we need to cover? I mean, I know we can talk all day, but
no, I think it's
got all the important things.
Pretty much it for now, but there's a lot of more projects coming. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, absolutely, we'll do others as need be. In the meantime, I will, at the end of this video, we'll post your contact information so that people can reach out to you.
Anytime.
All right.
I want to add that I have a partner who lives in Ukraine.
Okay.
Glory to Ukraine, and because he lives there and he's helping me, and he is my partner. He's electronic guru, and all information on my website. And his last name, Musica.
Which is so awesome.
This is unbelievable. And he's so talented, and he is a the best in the industry of electronics. So
Yeah.
we're working together. Yes.
All right, great.
All right. Thank you so much.